So, recently, and by recently I mean the last few months, I caught up on Boruto, and I have been watching it weekly. And it's gotten pretty good. So I figured I'd take a look back at all of Boruto and just see how it went, you know? And I think we all felt this way at the beginning of Boruto, where we were only watching for the legacy characters. Like, we didn't really care. Like, we cared, but did we really care about Boruto and Sarada at first? I don't think most of us did. But things actually got really good, and they are really good right now. I mean, animation-wise, it could use some work, but overall, it's 10 out of 10, honestly. For example, Sakura actually does things. She's not even a main character anymore. I mean, she wasn't really a main character to begin with in Naruto and Shippuden. She was basically the conch shell from SpongeBob, if we're being honest. There's a lot of early Boruto that just kind of feels like filler, but it's not. See, they do this whole thing where they try and reintroduce you to the world and establish the characters, and that's good. You need to establish characters. But they do it like it's an entirely new setup. Which, I mean, it makes sense. They're trying to introduce a new generation of people to a new generation of ninjas. But the reason it doesn't work is because I'm guessing the majority of Boruto's audience are in fact those who watched the previous series. And I think that's why a lot of people have negative opinions of early Boruto. I'm aware the series has them begin in the academy and go on their first few missions, but I'm going to be bypassing that as it basically serves only for character introductions or reintroductions. Something that I will be skipping, because if any character is important enough, I will introduce them in the videos as I go. The arc begins with this pretty good cold open of what we find out later is some bandits being attacked by a white Zetsu. The majority of the first episode of this arc is just covering plot threads that are being set up, such as Himawari's birthday or Boruto's angst at his father, which, by the way, is something I'm aware the series gets a lot of flack for Boruto essentially being a stuck-up brat for the majority of the early episodes. But honestly, I don't mind it as much, as it does make sense for the character. We also have the subplot for scientific ninja tools introduced around this point, which is something that will become very important later on, which basically just involves this one weird science guy, no, not the one you're thinking of, trying to convert Boruto to the dark side, as it were, and have him cheat at life using ninja tools. We then follow the main characters as they go on a mission to capture some bandits who seem to be holding up in a mine, which is honestly unimportant pretext and is just set up for the rest of the arc and the introduction of the White Zetsu into Boruto. While in the mines, they're seemingly ambushed by a giant mutated White Zetsu, which they manage to fend off just barely with the help of a ninja tool Boruto received as a late birthday present from Creepy Science Guy. Following the White Zetsu further in, they find the remnants, the roots of the God Tree, which at one point was used to mass-produce White Zetsu, though they soon find out nearly all White Zetsu produced there have in fact decomposed, and the few that didn't were killed by Sasuke Uchiha, as evidenced by the corpses of several White Zetsu still burning with Sasuke's Amaterasu. Having seen this, it leaves a large portion of Team 7 in awe, notably Boruto and Sarada, though for different reasons. That is where the first part of this arc ends. The next episode begins with a confrontation between two Otsutsuki clan members, one of those clan members being Toneri Otsutsuki. He's the guy from that time Naruto cut the moon in half, remember that? Moving swiftly on, this fight ends with Toneri being sealed by the as of yet unknown Otsutsuki. We then spend the next little bit watching some of the other teams prepare for the tuning exams, as well as Creepy Science Guy making a request to Naruto. A request that, once denied, is the motivation for him giving Boruto the scientific ninja tool later in the arc. The next thing that happens is Sarada convincing Boruto to compete in the tuning exams, as he is initially hesitant. We then move on to Himawari's birthday party, where Boruto is initially surprised to see his father in actual attendance. However, this happiness is short-lived, as it turns out the Naruto who's there is a shadow clone and the real one has fallen asleep, thus making the shadow clone disappear while carrying Himawari's cake. Dropping it on the floor, this, as you can imagine, infuriates Boruto, and while he's upstairs in his father's home office, he hears a ring at the door and runs down and punches at whoever is on the other side without looking. Lo and behold, this turns out to be Sasuke Uchiha, who upon hearing that Naruto isn't actually at the house right now, begins to go and head towards the Hokage's office as he has important information to deliver to Naruto. We then see him do as he informs Naruto of his discovery of Kaguya's palace in another dimension, as well as his interaction and conflict with two other Otsutsuki clan members, which, as you can imagine, has everyone worried for the near future. Sasuke also giving Naruto a scroll to be deciphered, as well as his jacket from the first series, he found on the way there, as Boruto earlier had thrown it out of the window. This causes the two to discuss Boruto as well as the soul of the shinobi. On his way out, Sasuke comes across Boruto, who is there to beat up his father. This causes Sasuke to kick Boruto's ass in one of the most satisfying scenes of any anime ever. This leads to Boruto begging Sasuke to let him be his student, a prospect which Sasuke almost immediately refuses until Boruto can perform the Rasengan, causing Boruto to run off and force Konohamaru to teach him the Rasengan over the course of 3 days, which, side note, is the fastest time anyone has learned the Rasengan. Side note to this side note, there's also this really sweet scene with Himawari and Boruto making cake, and it's really wholesome, and I honestly love it. So anyways, he masters the Rasengan and goes to show Sasuke, only for Sasuke to say the one thing no man ever wants to hear another man say. So Boruto decides to use Creepy Science Guy's tool to impress Sasuke with a larger Rasengan. Sasuke, of course, sees through this, but accepts Boruto as his student anyway, as he still mastered the jutsu as requested. We also get some more scenes with Creepy Science Man, as well as with Orochimaru talking to Mitsuki about how he shouldn't use Sage Mode, as if he does, he'll have to leave the village. Then we get a few scenes of all the Hidden Leaf Genin preparing for the tuning exams, Sarada being the linking point between them. It's pretty cool. We also learn more about the Otsutsuki who are planning on invading, as they seem to be going after the chakra fruit, and since the chakra fruit isn't available, they're going to be going after the two largest sources of chakra available, that being Naruto and Killer Bee, as they are the only two remaining Jinchuriki. Meanwhile, Naruto and the others have realized Kaguya's plan of creating an army of white Zetsu to combat an Otsutsuki invasion, and are worried about how soon that invasion may take place. And as if on cue, the invasion begins, with Killer Bee being attacked, restrained, and having his chakra stolen. This is also the first time we see Momoshiki Otsutsuki's signature ability, the ability to absorb all ninjutsu, double it, and send it back at the opponent. They then plan their attack on the remaining Jinchuriki, being Naruto Uzumaki, set to happen at a time that coincides with the tuning exams. And with that thought on the horizon, that's it for now. Please like and subscribe, have a nice day, and part 2 will be out shortly.